Okay, this is quite an interesting one. So we've got to construct a rectangle. One side is going to be 4 centimetres long and the diagonals will be 8 centimetres long. Okay, so we can easily construct our side of 4 centimetres long, and we'll do that like this. So if we start there and we come down 1, 2, 3, 4, put a little tag on each of those. So we know that that is 4 centimetres long. Now, we know the lengths of the diagonals, but we don't know where they would finish. Because those diagonals could be sharp, or they could be, it's very difficult. But what we do know is that if they're 8 centimetres long, they're going to cross at the 4 centimetre point on each diagonal. So we know that. So what we can do is we can set our compass to 4 centimetres. Just like that. Get it exactly right. There we go. So we set that to 4 centimetres, and then we can make a triangle. Just like that. Just like that. And we now know that that is the central point. So what we can do is we can project lines straight through that centre, but make them very light because we're not going to use the whole line. So we've got one there, and then we'll project another one through the centre just like this. Very light along there. And now all we need to do is make our lines 8 centimetres long, and that's easily done. We just use our set square, stay on that mark, and we get our pencil tip to exactly 8 centimetres, and then we can project that along just like that. And then come along here and do exactly the same, just like that. And then all we need to do is where these crosses are, is just join them up, join the dots, just like that. Oops. Got to make sure that we allow for the thickness of the pencil. Join that one. And then join that one, and then join those, and that's how we can produce that. But then it's worth measuring up and making sure that we're really accurate. And again, yes, that side is 4 centimetres, as you can see. So so that's a way to do that. Another way to do it, but I don't think this is the way that they're looking for. Another way to do it, of course, would be to draw our 4 centimetre line. And then to use our set square to project a line straight across. Then from this side, we set our compass to 8 centimetres, and then we can bring that up from this corner here. Then we could do exactly the same for the bottom, so use our set square to project a line straight across. By lining this edge up with our line and knowing that this is 90 degrees, we can project straight across, and then use our compass set at 8 centimetres to make another mark. So that would be another way to do this particular one. we can then join those up, and provided we've been accurate with our set square, we should have a good rectangle there. So that's two ways to do it. I would suggest that because they've drawn in the diagonals, I would suggest that they're looking for you to do it this way. But either way would work. On that particular problem, it won't work on the next problem now. So on the next problem, what we've got is, we've got a rhombus. We've got to create a rhombus, and each side should be 4 centimeters long. One of the diagonals should be 7 centimeters long. So I think the first thing we need to start with is produce the diagonal, and we'll produce this 7 centimeter diagonal there. We'll do that like this. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So that's 7 centimeters. What we need to do now is, using our compass, we need to produce a perpendicular intersector, which we know how to do. That's easy to do, we know that. So we just very, very faintly produce our line like that, because then we can produce our perpendicular. Right, now we know that this is this is now 3.5 centimeters from there, but we know each side is 4 centimeters and it's going to reach this line somewhere. So all we have to do is set our, using our set square, set our compass to exactly 4 centimeters, which is just there, and then we can come to this end of our line and strike an arc there, strike an arc there. Now if we go to the other end of the line, that should hit our arcs right on the line, and you can see it does, right on the perpendicular line that is, and you can see that it does. So all we need to do is join the mark that we've just made with our ends of our 7 centimeter line, and we've now produced that rhombus. It's got sides of 4 centimeters, and one of the diagonals, which is this one, is 7 centimeters long. Okay, it's asking for us to do exactly that same thing now. Construct a rhombus. Each side will be 4 centimeters long. One of the diagonals should be 3 centimeters long. So this is going to be a narrow one, but we can do that easily. So what we'll do is we'll make our horizontal diagonal 1, 2, 3 centimeters long. Now all we need to do is get our bisect the line, just like that. We can send that straight through our marks. Okay, and then all we have to do is set our compass. Our side lengths are 4 centimeters, remember. So we set our compass to 4 centimeters, exactly like that. And then this is our 3 centimeter diagonal. So we come to the end of that and we put a mark there and a mark there. If we go to the other side, what we'll find is it should cross exactly on the line, and you can see that it does. So then all we need to do is join our corner points. And we've now constructed the rhombus with it's this one here. We've constructed a rhombus now with sides of 4 centimeters long, and the diagonal, one of the diagonals is 3 centimeters long. Okay. So we're now going to produce a parallelogram. The sides should be 5 centimeters and 8 centimeters, and one of the diagonals should be 11 centimeters long. Okay. That's quite straightforward. That's probably the easiest one of all. So one of the diagonals has to be 11 centimeters long. I'll just need to use a ruler for this because my set square only goes up to 10. So 11 centimeters long, so it's going to be 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, there you go, 11. I'll just put a little mark there. Okay, now one of the sides is going to be parallelogram. One of the sides is 5 centimeters. Very straightforward. 5 centimeters. So we'll just mark that. So that will be one of the sides, 5 centimeters. And the other one is going to be 8 centimeters. Now, in reality, we know that we're going to have another 5 centimeter line down here, so we could mark that mark now. So I'm going to do that. Okay, now our next line is going to be 8 centimeters. So we'll quickly mark that, and that's from here. So the 5 centimeter line is going to come from this end somewhere, and the 8 centimeter line is going to come from this end somewhere, and where they cross would be the corner. Now we've already done our 5 centimeter down here, so we can just come straight across and do our 8 centimeter. When we connect all these up, we will find that we've now got a nice parallelogram. Okay. Okay, looking at this exercise then here, I can see that you've already done this, and you've bisected the lines very well. So what we'll do is we'll just have a little look at something. The one bit I think that is missing from this page, what it's saying is we're looking for one that's not in the middle. So these are all in the middle, but this one's not. But what we've got missing is we haven't projected our lines far enough to see where the intersection is. So although it's obviously not in the middle, what we should do really when we're looking for something like this is project the lines down so that we can actually see where they do intersect. So there we go. So there's where it would intersect, just there. So yes, you've identified that that one is not in the middle. Okay, so that would be my only comment on that one. Make sure that you do project them all the way down. Okay, now this exercise here looks very straightforward, and it looks like that you've completed it. Okay, so you've got to guess which one has the largest perimeter first, and you've guessed on F. Let me have a look. Would I agree with that? don't know, A looks pretty long, mind you. D as well. C might not be a million miles away, but so okay, you've gone with F and you've picked the smallest perimeter as being B. So very straightforward. It looks like you've easily mastered this. So if we just do a quick check on that, would that be your first one? Yeah, spot on. And then the second one, yeah, perfect. So just checking through a few of these, and it looks like you've got this one absolutely, yeah, looks like you've got this one absolutely nailed. So we won't, there's no need to overdo this. But if we have a look, we've got which one has got the smallest. So A, B, C, D. So it looks like E has they all look very small. Mind you, it can be very confusing, or it can be very misleading when you look at something like that. Yeah. No, I don't know what's happened there. Don't know what's happened there. So these are all equal sizes. That looks like a regular hexagon. So there's quite a discrepancy there. We've got from there to there. So it's important when you're doing a measurement task like this, if you're going to be using your compass, that is far more accurate way of measuring, because you can make sure you can see that that line goes right through the corner. You can get it absolutely right. When you're measuring it with a ruler or your set square, it's quite easy to be, although to be fair, that's 22 millimeters. That looks like 22 millimeters, and you've actually marked off this first one at 18. So you've gone, I can see what's happened. I can see what's happened there. What I think you may have done is you've used your set square like that, and you 2 past the 2. So you're on 22, and then you've turned it round and you've gone 2 past the 2. So you've made it 18, which means you've actually shortened it by 4. That's what I would imagine has happened. Either that, or you've measured it very inaccurately. But there's one for you to focus on. Just have a little look at that. But I would certainly be using the compass throughout all of these. What I notice is that on A, you've clearly used the compass because the marks are there, and that one is absolutely spot on. Let's have a look at F and see what this one looks like, because I'm not seeing any marks on there. So if we were to go to that corner there, there's the longest one on F. When we check that out, we can see, yeah, we can see that that is considerably out. Then this looks like the next longest one, which you've added in. Just get that exactly on the mark. There you go, that's spot on the mark. So when we go from there, you've almost brought it back with that one, so I'm not sure what's gone on there. And then this one here might be the next one. So we can see we're bang on the end. We've drifted a bit again. And then if we look at this here, this angle here, or this line here, we've come almost back on, but you can see the inaccuracies all the way through, and some are over, some are under, and it's brought us almost to where we want to be, but looks like maybe a bit of error with the ruler or something there. So look at D. That's exactly right. Let's have a look at that. Yeah, so those two sides are the same, so we're going to use this one measure for both of those. So this is D. So we're quite a bit out on that one, and of course that's now accumulated. Then these two sides are also the same, so if we do the same exercise there, and we come to there, and then we mark that along. Yeah, you can see we're a good, don't know, we're quite a way out there. That's 7.5 millimeters out. So need to concentrate on this one a little bit. Use the compass to measure each of the sides. This one obviously you only need to measure it once because all the sides are equal. This is square, so that'll be the same. But I can see on some of them, on this one you've used your compass. I don't know if you've used it on this one. There's two marks. So to be fair, these should all be identical. And when I go to there, yeah, I think that is it's a little bit out. Yeah, even on that one, we're creeping out a little bit there, but then I'm looking at the mark here, and there's two marks there. Okay, so something to concentrate on, something to have another look at, measuring with your compass and making sure that we're maintaining accuracy. Okay, so let's have a look at this one then, at these exercises here. We've got to copy the shapes by transferring the sides and angles with the compass. Okay, so I can see that you've had a go. This one looks a little bit out, but I'll show you how we do that. This one here, I'm not sure you've had a go at that. And then this one here, it looks a little bit inaccurate. It looks a bit bigger than this one, to be fair. So what we'll do is, first of all, I'll construct this one on the paper itself, because it's giving us a head start here with our first line. Although it's moved it round, you see, it's changed the angle, and that could throw you out a little bit if you're not careful. So let's just have a look at this. So very straightforward. All we need to do is go from this point here to that point there, and then we can mark that onto there. Then we go from this point here to that point there, and we can now mark that on there. And we see that those lines cross more or less on the orange line itself, which they should. And so there you go. That's all that one. That's all that one needed. Although you can see the triangle is turned round a little bit, it's you know, you can see that we've achieved that. Okay, so this next one, we're going to try to reconstruct that, and I'm not sure what line they've given us because I'm not seeing what we've got here because we've drawn over it. So I think, have they give us this line? Okay, well, I'll reconstruct that over here. So I'll just put my line on more or less the same angle as this here. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to measure that, and I think that's what they're doing. They're showing you with this arc here that's how you measure that. Okay, so that's now measured. Put a little start point there. So I'm going to put that on there. So that's our first line. Okay, so we now want the line down here. So all we need to do is copy that length, and then we can come down here and put an arc on. Then if we come to this end of our line and then copy to the same point again, we now know that that line goes there. Okay, so next we'll produce this point here, and we'll go from there, from that corner there, and we'll mark across to there, and then we'll come from this top here, and we will mark down there. So when we join this up with our set square, what we find is we have got that shape. That shape is the same as that one. I think this one's just a little bit, some slight inaccuracies. I mean, it's clear they've put the curve in there, you know, the compass measurement there, and that's on the corner, and yet the corner, we've got our corner over here somehow. Okay, so one to think about. Now then, what we've got here, this length here, this arc here, I think finishes here. So what we need to do is draw our line in, and that line is going to be, it is 83 millimeters, and it's about that angle. So 80, we'll just go a little bit over, and we'll make our little tag there, and then we'll just measure that to make sure that we get an accurate length. There we go. So we go from there to there, and that's our corner. Next, what I want to do is we'll go from there to this point here. And then we'll transfer that straight across, and then we'll go from this point to there, and then we transfer that across, and that gives us this point here. So we can mark that on. Next, our last point is this one here, so we can measure that from here. And then transfer that measurement straight across. Then go from this point down here all the way up. All the way up to there, a little bit more, titchy bit more, there we go, spot on. And then we make our mark, and we've now got perfect copy of that shape. Okay, you can see that one leg is further down. If you would turn that a little, you can see how they match. Okay, so that's how we do that particular problem. And these ones we're familiar with because we did those in the other video. Okay. Okay.